Hello listeners, I'm POOJA GUPTA and welcome you all to the Ensemble Daily News Analysis. Today's topic for discussion will be first, China's Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Grand Plan, second, Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme, and the last is India's Draft National Energy Policy. Now, let's start with the China's Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Grand Plan. China is pushing for the early signing of a mega regional free trade agreement known as RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, among 16 Asia-Pacific nations including China and India. What is RCEP? The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership aims to boost goods trade by eliminating most tariff and non-tariff barriers. It also seeks to liberalize investment norms and do away with services trade restrictions. The RCEP is built as a free trade agreement between the 10-member Asian bloc and its 6 FTA partners: India, China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. The far-reaching significances of RCEP is, when inked, it would become the world's biggest free trade pact. This is because the 16 nations account for a total GDP of about $50 trillion and house close to 3.5 billion people. India and China together comprise the RCEP's biggest component in terms of market size. Why is China so much interested in this deal? China, using its influence as the global leader in goods exports, has been deploying quiet diplomacy to ensure consistent focus on attempts to obtain commitments on elimination of tariffs on most traded goods. China is keen on an agreement on a high level of tariff liberalization, eliminating duties on as much as 92% of traded products. This deal helps China fulfill its objectives. China is also speeding up the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership negotiation process and striving for an early agreement so as to contribute to realize the greater common goal of building the free trade area of the Asia Pacific. The path is clear for China to push ahead with this strategic initiative and to its advantage through the RCEP. Why should India be concerned? A highly ambitious level of tariff elimination without enough flexibility would affect India the most of the good sides. This is because in the RCEP group, India had the highest average tariff level at 13.5%. India is already affected by China's overhang of excess capacity in sectors including metals, chemicals and textiles. The initiatives could provide a means for China's industry with excess capacity to export equipment that is currently idle. Also, the proposed free trade agreement, owing to the possibility of elimination of duties across most sectors, could lead to a surge in inflow of low-priced goods, mainly from China. This would result in Indian industries' share in the domestic market contracting and consequent downsizing of operations, as well as job losses. This could lead to lower income and reduced consumer spending. China is the only RCEP country with which India neither has an FTA nor is in talks for one. Therefore, Indian industry sees RCEP as an indirect free trade agreement with China, especially since there could be a hue and cry if India opts for a direct free trade agreement with that country given the sensitivities involved. What needs to be done? India's FTA strategy has to be guided by the Make in India initiatives that aims to boost domestic manufacturing and job creation within India. In return for greater market access in goods, India, with its large pool of skilled workers and professionals, should try to use the RCEP to gain on the services side by securing commitments from the other nation to mutually ease norms on movement of such people across border for short-term work. Now the next topic is Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme. The central government has recently introduced a few changes in the Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme. The primary change was the increase in the limit to 4 kg for individuals, Hindu undivided family and 20 kg for a trust. Why this change occur? This was probably done to encourage high net worth individuals, which farmers as well as trusts to invest in these bonds. Unrealistic pricing pattern vis-a-vis the international price of gold. Gold prices are highly sensitive to international geopolitical tensions, US federal rates and dollar upswings. They move in a price band of 5 to 10% year on year. Past SGB prices ranging from 3150 per gram to 2750 per gram was often not in parity with the market rate realities, and this often led to the sovereign gold bond consumers losing money despite earning a 2.5% return on investments. Another factor diminishing the attractiveness of the sovereign gold bond is its price being pegged to a 10% import duty, and any reduction in the import duty by the government in the subsequent period would likely inflict several loss of value to those who have already invested. What is sovereign gold bond? Sovereign gold bonds are government securities denominated in grams of gold. They are substitutes for holding physical golds. Investors have to pay the issue price in cash, and the bonds can be redeemed in cash on maturity. The bonds are issued by Reserve Bank of India on behalf of government. These bonds can be used as collateral for loans. They can be sold or traded on stock exchanges. Eligible investors include individuals, Hindu undivided families, trusts, universities, charitable institutions residing in India. Collection and redemption of the bond can be done through banks, post offices, and BFCs. Initially, the interest rate was fixed at 2.75% per annum, and this has been reduced to 2.5% per annum. The bonds will be issued in the denomination of 5, 10, 50 and 100 grams of gold or other denominations. The tenure of the bond could be for a minimum of 5 to 7 years, which would protect investors from medium-term volatility in gold prices. For an individual investor, capital gains tax treatment for sovereign gold bonds will be the same as for physical gold. Gold Reserve Fund has been created by the government to take care of the risk associated with the due to an increase in gold price. What are the needs for sovereign gold bonds? The basic premise was the most Indians believed in gold as a time-tested and safe asset class and preferred it over other forms of investment. The sovereign gold bond scheme was launched by the government in November 2015 with a target to shift part of the estimated 300 tons of physical bars and coins purchased every year for investment into demat gold bands. It was aimed at curbing the demand of physical gold for investment purpose and replace it with alternate paper or electronic investment. Since most of the demand for gold in India is met through import, this scheme would help in maintaining the country's current account deficit within sustainable limits. The way forward. Government should allow mass channels such as gold loan non-banking finance company to market these bonds. Offering gold loan against sovereign gold bonds would help popularize the product from a consumer angle. In case of physical delivery of bullion against SGB at a later date, import duty and IGST should be levied at the point of delivery. This will make the scheme much more attractive to the public, thereby enabling substitution of expensive import that impact the current account deficit. Now the last topic is India's draft National Energy Policy. The 2017 National Energy Policy drafted by the Niti Aayog takes the baton forward from the 2006 Integrated Energy Policy. In setting the trajectory of the growth for the energy sector in India, the value proposition for the NEP is to present a broad framework for the overall energy sector, taking into account the multiple technology and the fuel options. Some of the recommendations in the draft reports are: Niti Aayog predicts that under business as usual, coal-fired power generation capacity could reach 441 gigawatts by 2040, more than doubling from today's less than 200 gigawatts. India's energy policy must In consequence, focus on increasing the share of renewables in the energy basket and on greening fossil fuels. India must leverage technology and innovation to render renewables affordable and accessible. The DNAP presents two scenarios, that is business as usual and ambitious. According to the DNAP, renewable and clean energy will meet only 8.9% of commercial energy needs in the business as usual scenario in 2040 and 13.4% under the ambitious scenario. Annual energy growth rates for these two cases are between 3.4% and 4.2%. One recommended strategy is to achieve this goal is to launch the mission on clean cooking fuels. This will enable 40% of rural residents who are currently dependent on biomass to have access to LPG, electricity, improved stoves, etc. by 2022. DNEP has also stressed the urgent needs for trained manpower for energy sector along with recommendation. Now some issues related to this report are: the DNEP fails to provide an adequate framework for a number of issues that have arisen and intensified over the course of India's ongoing energy transition, which is still in its nascent state. No attempt has been made in the report to optimize decision making while selecting different sources of energy. Most of these recommendations are old. It would have been more useful and productive if the DNEP had selected and concentrated on a few critical ones. This policy does not recommend consistent and strong policy and budgetary support for technology development. However, the most disappointing aspect of the DNEP is its handling of the gas sector. It suggests that India should try hard to construct the Iran-Pakistan-India and Turkmenistan-Afghanistan, Pakistan and India gas pipeline, promote LNG imports, incentivize shale and conventional gas exploration, replace LPG in urban areas by pipe gas and divert LPG to rural areas. All these are great suggestions, but most have been made earlier. The way forward to DNEP are: a separate system can be created to enable the development and distribution of cleaner fuels, and that policy interventions are directed to slowly but inexorably enhance the importance of the latter to the diminishing significance of the former. Niti Aayog should supplement their current report with a second document that will offer suggestions for the creation of such a mechanism and an institutional design that will clarify lines of accountability and authority and balance the needs of development, politics and sustainability. The conclusion of these reports are: it is now for the executive to put actionable place around the recommendations mentioned in the draft National Energy Policy. As the government's think tank, Niti Aayog wishes to make a difference. It should extend its mandate unilaterally and map each of its policy recommendations against existing institutions of governance. And where there are mismatch or misalignment, offer suggestions for plugging the institutional lacunae. Otherwise, we would miss a golden opportunity to prepare India for the transition from the fossil fuel era to one of the renewables. Thanks.